Hi, I'm Casey, and this is my March wrap-up. If you're new here, I talk about books, I do some bookish content things, and we're just going to jump right into this. We are going to do the same format of wrap-up that we did last month because I very much enjoyed doing that, and it helps me keep my rambling in check. My 2-star for the month was The Evening Road by Laird Hunt. My 3 stars for the month were The Secret Life of Fungi by Aaliyah Whitley, Flowers for the Sea by Zin E. Rocklin, and The Devil in Silver by Victor LaVale. My 4 stars for the month were Chouette by Claire Oshetsky, The Secret Life of Groceries by Benjamin Lohr, The Route of Ice and Salt by Jose Luis Zarate, Bad Cree by Jessica Johns, and 1,000 Chips by Natalie Haynes. My 5 stars for the month of March were Woman Eating by Claire Coda, Middle Game by Shauna McGuire. This one was a reread, and it remained 5 stars for me. Disability Visibility by Alice Wong, and How the Word is Passed by Clint Smith. On to the superlatives for the month. The first one we have is the worst book that I read in March, and that has to go to The Evening Road by Laird Hunt. This is a literary fiction following 2 women in 1930s Indiana, one white and one black, as a lynching is happening in a small town near both of them. This had a lack of things to say. You would think that with that quick synopsis, it would have so much more to say. It would have characters that you would at least care a little bit about, but unfortunately no, this really had nothing all around. I thought that the writing was pretty poor. I thought the character work was bad. The setting I didn't really get, and overall I just found this to be just a complete fucking mess of a book. On to the most disappointing book I read in March, and this goes to The Devil in Silver by Victor LaVale. This truly only goes to this book because overall I did not have a lot of disappointments. Honestly, I just had to give it to this one because I had read 2 previous works by this author that I found both to be very spectacular. The Devil in Silver is a horror fiction following a man named Pepper in the early 2000s as he is involuntarily institutionalized. He and the other patients in this mental institution have to kind of band together to take on a threat within the institution and a little bit of just the institution and the politics behind it. It was overall really interesting, but I did find there was just sort of a disconnect between different portions of the story. It definitely felt like it was at times 2 or 3 different books or novellas that had kind of gotten squished into one story, and I just didn't think that there was enough that really kind of interconnected those pieces together to make it completely flow very well. I will say overall I did give this, I think, 3 stars just flat, and I did really enjoy it. I love the way Victor LaVale writes. He writes characters that I care about and that I find interesting, and I do think that this book did have a lot to say about institutions and the way that people are treated and just overall relations between people and the way that, you know, people kind of come together and have to challenge themselves at times. We're going to move on to the most meh of the month of March. How many more M words can I throw in there? And this one unfortunately goes to The Secret Life of Fungi by Aaliyah Whitley. This has nothing to do with the book itself. It's purely the timing of when I decided to listen to the audiobook. I should have held off for another day or read it earlier in the month, but my hold on it was quickly expiring, or my loan was very quickly expiring, and I needed to return it because there were other people waiting, and I just did not read this at the right time. It was a very bad day. I was taking care of, I believe, a sick spouse and with our 3 dogs, and there was just a lot going on, and I just could not focus on this book, unfortunately. Moving on, we're going to talk about my most surprising of the month, and that is The Secret Life of Groceries by Benjamin Lohr. I found this to be surprising in such a positive way because I was expecting it to be something different. I thought it was going to be, well, I guess I should tell you what it's about. It's a nonfiction surrounding the grocery industry, particularly in the United States. And I thought that this was going to be much more about grocery stores themselves and about the kind of interworkings and politics behind, you know, like Whole Foods or Walmart or Trader Joe's. And while it has a lot of that in there, what it also does is it takes a broader look at the grocery industry as a whole. From, you know, Trader Joe's getting its start to the truck drivers and the trucking industry that brings your food from one place to another, to seafood and the shrimp fishing that goes on across the globe. it really had a much broader scope than I thought it would. And anytime a nonfiction comes in and really takes a look at capitalism and consumerism and knocks them down a peg, I am always going to have a great time. Moving on to my favorite books for the month of March, I need to give a very, very quick honorable mention to Middle Game. I don't want to talk about this one too much because this was a reread for me. If you have not read this already, it's very much a book content darling at this point, and I think for very good reason. This follows twins Roger and Dodger who have been separated at birth and have some kind of alchemical strangeness going on in their lives. I won't give any more synopsis than that, but I read this again this month. This was the second time I've read this, and I absolutely adored it. I thought it absolutely held up, and it was a very interesting piece to reread. Moving on, last month I had a best fiction and a best nonfiction, and unfortunately my nonfictions were just too fucking good this month, and I need to give both places to the 2 5 non-star fictions I had, which were Disability Visibility by Alice Wong and How the Word is Passed by Clint Smith. Disability Visibility is a collection of essays and stories from people who have disabilities or chronic illness, people who have had life-changing injuries, or who were born with their disabilities. It was phenomenal. It was heart-wrenching. It was inspiring, and I think that if you're looking to challenge your internalized ableism, or maybe just to open your mind to more stories from more people along a variety of walks of life, this is something that I think will absolutely do all of that for you. I highly recommend the audiobook. It is how I read this book, and it is so incredible and so inspiring. Alice Wong, I believe, curated all these stories and has a podcast, I believe, with the same name as the book itself, which is Disability Visibility. And there was a transcript from that podcast in here, and it was just, oh, it was so good. I don't know that I can even accurately express all of my thoughts and feelings for this one. And the other 5-star nonfiction I read this month was How the Word is Passed by Clint Smith. This is Smith doing some reckoning with America's history and particularly around slavery and the way that America and the United States of America does not talk enough about the truth and the history and all the implications and all the factual things that happened for this period of time and the way that it shapes our current day. The absolute best part of this book, in my opinion, was the interweaving of the author's feelings as a Black man in America, going to a variety of places, talking to different people, finding out more about certain parts of the history with the history itself. The history that is commonly known and the history that is very much hidden away from so many of us, and that we have to seek out ourselves, and that is not actively available most of the time. It was just absolutely incredible. It's another one where I can't recommend the audiobook enough. The narrator is the author, and listening to him recite his own work that is a recounting of so much of his own experience, it was truly absolutely incredible. Okay, anyways, enough with that rambly nonsense, I guess. That was my March wrap up. If you are curious about any of the other books that I read, please leave a comment down below. Love to discuss them with anyone who wants to. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Do algorithm things if you want, and if not, I'll see you next Friday. Bye.